Welcome to the December 1st, 2020 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, back from my nuptials, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
I had to sojourn briefly to get married, but I am back.
Well, that just debunks the story that I told Fakafan and the listeners about how we had a climactic clash on a rooftop of a nondescript building.
Did it say nondescript right on the building?
Well, no, that would have been ironic.
Yeah.
That would have been like the Streisand effect.
Did you see The Disaster Artist, the movie?
Nah, I didn't bother. From what I've heard, it's basically just like them doing The Room impressions, the movie.
Yeah, but there was some fun moments, but like in the like one of the hotels they stay, or like one of the apartment buildings they go to, it says Ojai, the California town, Ojai, Ojai.
Okay,
yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyway, I am back. I see that you and Fakapon cleaned up the place. It looks very nice in here, very organized.
What? Oh yeah, that was we did that. Yes.
Here in Corcon Towers, it's quite tidy.
Corcon Enterprise.
But yeah, we didn't even record this in the same physical space even before COVID. But,
yeah, the only time we've ever recorded in the same physical space was
on cons.
Luminaire's place, like once or maybe twice, and yeah, MagFest.
Yeah, but we do have some really cool things to go over. Even some like stuff that like came out like right as we were releasing the podcast, so it just like just missed it. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like the moment I started linking to the recon on Tuesday, our first announcement for this week comes up. I'm like, well,
and this is like a big thing too. So it stinks that we missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Neo: The World Ends With You, and a legitimate World Ends With You sequel for PS4 and Switch has been announced, which is a pretty darn big deal.
And it's like it's in like proper, like, well, not proper, but it's in like 3D now. It's not sprite based anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a proper like current gen RPG now. It's no longer just like kind of like a really offbeat but like held back by its portability kind of game, you know, that kind of thing. So I thought this was really, really cool, and not something I ever expected to happen, because given that they tried like redoing The World Ends With You a couple times, like once on iOS and then on the Switch, and it was never the same. Like the controls never always suffered when they changed platforms. So like still, most big World Ends With You fans will still point you to the DS game.
Yeah, and this is what kind of irritates me about when new systems try to have their own gimmick that makes them unique. It's like, well, enjoy never porting that game then.
Well, when they do port it, that just means that they have to heavily like modify it, and
yeah, or they can't do it right.
Yeah, the Switch release, they should have heavily modified it. They should have did something different, but instead they kept it like largely the same and made it awkwardly shoehorned into the like the Switch's own abilities, which aren't the same as the original DS's abilities. They just aren't. It has a touch screen, but it's not the same kind, or like the DS has its own thing going. You know, some of the games that were like best on the DS, like Etrian Odyssey and things like that, haven't made it to the Switch yet, because like the Etrian Odyssey games were very specific to being able to write on the bottom screen and also have a second screen up top. You know, a map versus an action screen, and no other platform other than the two DS systems provide that.
Well, so, couldn't you do that with the Switch handhelds? Like, well, there's no stylus for the Switch, is there?
Yeah, that's the big issue, is that the Switch, while it has a touchscreen, isn't nearly as precise.
Yeah.
Because it's more like a touchscreen on a cell phone, which
Yeah.
while good, it's capacitive. It's nowhere near the precision that you would get from a stylus. Even if you did have a stylus, you can't expect everybody to play it with one because it's not a normal part of the system, and you would need to get a capacitive type stylus to make it work. So, this is cool because we never thought we would get this, which is really a neat thing.
The World Ends With You was kind of underground even when it was new.
Yeah, it was kind of like almost like it had a similar, though it was a Nomura style in art. It kind of almost looked like Jet Set Radio in some ways. Just because of that cell shading kind of look. Yeah,
it's got that funky kind of look with the hard lines and everything.
Yeah, and it has that Harajuku kind of stylish, street punk kind of look going on with it. So, a very Shibuya kind of look. And so much so that, a lot of younger fans are catching up on that, and they're like, oh, this looks like Persona 5. It's just like, dude, The World Ends With You is way before Persona 5.
Yeah.
Just stop.
My experience with Shibuya is real life because I played that visual novel where everything's photos.
But it's just kind of funny. You have these 15-year-olds that are like, oh, would copy Persona 5 much? It's just like, dude, stop.
I can't believe Dragon Ball Z Super is copying off of Chrono Trigger. What?
Also, Japanese street punky kind of stuff has been around forever.
I'm pretty sure it was inspired by Japanese street punks.
Yeah, actual Japanese street punks.
I can't believe street punks ripped off of the aesthetic of The World Ends With You. That's like that joke I make about Magic the Gathering. I can't believe Dynasty Warriors ripped off of Magic the Gathering Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Yeah.
What?
I can't think of anything before Jet Set Radio that did it, I honestly, but I'm sure there's something that got into that subculture before, but if you had to point to something that came out in 1999 is probably it, and that's 20 years ago. So come on. Who's splitting hairs? But anyway, really, really cool stuff. I'm excited, and I really am looking forward to playing it. This just looks like a lot of fun. Did you watch the video clips at all?
Nah, because I never followed The World Ends With You. I was just like, oh, they're making another one. I saw not gameplay clips. I saw a bit of the trailer where it's just it's a character's face, it's the environment, and I'm like, all right, it's just trailer footage, not gameplay footage, so it doesn't mean anything.
So it kind of looks similar to almost like Okami. You get into a battle and then it makes an arena for you, an action-based arena.
Okay.
So if that makes any sense.
Oh, so it's like Yakuza 3. Where a crowd forms around you, so that's the boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it has a real-time battle system. One of the cool gimmicks of the DS game was that your partners all had a different thing going on. One of them was DDR inspired, and another one I forget what the other one.
Oh, so they were doing cool dance moves that don't match the actual beat at all because it's a pre-recorded thing.
No, but their battle system was DDR inspired.
Yeah.
Press up, down, left, right, in tune with the music, which was pretty cool.
I can't believe The World Ends With You ripped off of Stepmania.
But yeah, once again, really excited, and Square also dropped another doozy, which was pretty.
Yeah, this
surprising.
Is actually I'm not passionate about this, but this is a legitimately big deal.
Yeah, so the SaGa games are divisive to say the least, but they do have their fans. Basically nobody is a fan of SaGa Unlimited or Unlimited SaGa, the PS2 one.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that legitimately love the Romancing SaGa games, and these are the games that started on the Game Boy as Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3. Those were actually SaGa games in Japan.
Yeah,
And,
the Final Fantasy Game Boy games in general, like Legend was SaGa and Adventure was what's like Seiken Densetsu or something like that.
Yeah, it was the first Secret of Mana game.
Just every game is Final Fantasy.
Well, I mean, they wanted to turn it into like try to market an RPG series.
Yeah.
And it probably worked because those Game Boy games actually sold really well. All 4 of those sold pretty darn well, which is surprising for the era. So these are the games that were made by Kawazu, who was the guy who made probably the worst Final Fantasy game, which is Final Fantasy II.
The one that like nobody remembers.
nobody remembers and nobody likes. There are like in any top list, it's usually the bottom. Almost always, universally, it's very archaic and also broken.
Well, actually, speaking of broken, how about the SaGa that they're dealing with?
What do you mean?
Like the original one, wasn't it straight up like incomplete?
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna get to this. So, SaGa Frontier is one of the most beloved entries in the series. It came out during almost right after Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, so a lot of people were really hyped for it because Final Fantasy VII was the #1 selling game on the PS1, I believe, right? People were really excited for a follow-up, and they got so SaGa Frontier sold really well, but when they played it, they were like, this is weird. It doesn't play like Final Fantasy VII, but some people actually genuinely really liked it. It's one of those cult games. But the thing was, at the time, Square had a really bad habit of rushing games and getting them out the door before they were finished. So SaGa Frontier kind of plays like Octopath Traveler, or Octopath Traveler plays like it.
Well, yeah.
You have 7 different characters with 7 different stories. And what was supposed to happen was that they were all supposed to tie together at the end with a last quest. And it never happened. So anybody who beat SaGa Frontier, the game just ended. And you didn't know what the point to it all was.
Doesn't that kind of happen with Octopath Traveler as well? Like, each character finishes their story and, okay...
Yeah, but I think that was done on purpose.
It was, but it's just it's a weird decision. Like, what if I choose this combination of characters? I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah. But SaGa Frontier was supposed to have something that tied everybody together and supposed to have a definitive ending, and it just didn't happen. So the new version of it, the remastered version, which is coming to Steam, Switch, iOS, PS4, and Android, pretty much everything but the Xbox platform, is getting updated graphics, events, cutscenes, and enhancements, and restoring that 8th character to give you the full game. So that's really cool.
That's pretty cool. Now, it gives me
I
hope
love
for
it when this kind of stuff happens.
It gives me hope for the future, that maybe in 20 years we'll get a complete Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, I mean... I didn't put this in the notes because I've been bamboozled too many times, but I'm going to quickly say it. There's a rumor going around that Kojima is working on Silent Hill again.
Yeah, that's horseshit.
I can't.
I'll do your Silent Hill game if you fix my fucking Metal Gear Solid game.
No, he burned every bridge that he has. I very much doubt he's.
And he didn't quit. He was fired.
Yeah, he did it in in Japan. Having any sort of public backlash against an employer is unheard of.
Yeah, appearance is such a big deal.
It's unheard of. So the way that he left with the trouble it caused.
Yeah, the photo with the mug with Konami tears. That's that'd be mind bending if people in America did that shit.
Yeah, but nah, I don't think that's happening. Please don't listen to that rumor.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and rehire you, and then renegotiate with Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus and Junji Ito.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
If they're making a Silent Hills, it's not going to be even close to what. Like it makes me think of like how people are asking Rare if they'll ever make a Banjo-Kazooie game again. What does that even mean? None of the people who made Banjo-Kazooie are on Rare anymore.
Yeah,
or if there is, maybe it's like one of them or something.
Get the like Hat in Time people to make it. Like, why don't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was. I think that was. Yeah, no, I guess that would work. I think that was heavily inspired by Spyro as well.
Yeah, but like same kind of thing. They made a modern collectathon that worked.
That like, was
people
good.
really loved. So like it wasn't like Ukulele where like people like didn't really like it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate because I think wasn't that actually made by the old Rare devs, and it was like,
yeah.
Like, it wasn't bad. It's just
It's too much like the old games, which is people don't want the old games. They want what they think the old games are like.
That is really the whole thing.
Yeah,
that makes me think of actually the new Animaniacs that recently came out. Apparently, the people who like did the art for the new Animaniacs said that they didn't want to recreate the old Animaniacs. They wanted to do what people saw in their heads as the old Animaniacs. So if you look at them side by side, there's clearly a difference. But yeah, like this, it's about right.
Like the new Animaniacs, I know you and Vacafon talked about it, but it's really fantastic. Yeah. It's really made for adults. People that watch the original Animaniacs.
Even the old Animaniacs was easily palatable to
adults. But this is definitely made for people that remember it.
Okay, specifically the old audience who are now in their 30s.
I mean, you're not showing Animaniacs to your 10-year-old and be like, this is what Daddy watched.
Yeah, that's true.
This is for you. I mean, there's some off-color jokes just like there were in the original, but like way more frequent and because they could get away with it.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody censoring them or putting any restrictions on them. It's Hulu, But I thought it was cool that like Steven Spielberg even showed up, like, just to give it his blessing because he was the executive producer of the original show. So.
Yeah, I think he even cameoed in the original a couple times anyway.
Yeah, pretty awesome. But anyway. Big deal for SaGa Frontier and SaGa fans. There are a ton of SaGa games that are going to be on the Switch at this point. I think the biggest ones. We got an official translation of Romancing Saga 3, which was the SNES game, and we've never gotten that ever before. We got an official version of it, which is really neat.
I know you name dropped this already, but this really is very much like that mana collection, like Trials of Mana, where it's like, here's that thing you never got like 20 years ago. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's just really cool what a lot of companies have done. They've really gone back in the well and like kind of fixed up some of their old stuff and really and given people like the new Mafia, the new version of Mafia is supposed to be fantastic. It's you went back to an old game and fixed it all up, and now it's great. It's what you thought it should be, that kind of thing. So really, really awesome stuff. It's giving you a definitive version of an old beloved game. In the here and now, make it play better, and put that content you always wish you could have put in there, because you have the time to put it in there now. So it's really awesome. Another game that they kind of rushed out the door, not kind of, but did, was Xenogears at the time. The whole second disc is very truncated.
Yeah, well, not to mention Xenosaga 3. We gotta end it.
Well, I mean,
I think that was a budgetary issue, though. They had to just it's either this or nothing.
Well, I think their problem was two really fucked them over. They two was like
story
a waste
was
of
very
time.
off-putting. Yeah.
Yeah. Two was a complete waste of time, and they really did a disservice to themselves. So the publisher, Namco at the time, was like, you get one more, you're not getting 5, and don't screw this up. And they didn't. The third one's one of the best ones. But
yeah, the third one has an ending, but you can feel them rushing to get to it.
Yeah. The next one is very odd. Put this on the list of things that you didn't think would, you would be reading or whatever. So 33% of SNK, the current iteration of SNK, the makers of the current Samurai Showdown game and the King of Fighters games, and the rights holder to all those IPs, was bought by a Saudi Arabian company owned by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't expect it to happen. Like, this is what I think will happen today, but I can easily believe it, because that guy is, like, a weeb and a hardcore, like, fan of this kind of thing.
Yeah, I should also, talk about the fact that SNK is huge in a lot of countries that you probably just don't realize. Like, in addition to being, like, a cult, having a cult fan base in America, having, a decent fan base in Japan, there is a gigantic fan base in Latin America for SNK titles.
Yeah, I was going to mention South America. Like, they had King of Fighters the way we had Street Fighter 2.
And Middle East and Europe loves SNK. So, and I think India might even love SNK on top of it. So, it's just one of those... I think it was just one of those things with the MVS back in the day is like, those MVS cabinets got everywhere because, an arcade operator could just buy one cabinet and then, have a much cheaper purchase for every single game with just buying a cartridge. That was a big deal and a really smart move for that company. And on top of it, they made fantastic games. So, and also, like, certain sections of Saudi Arabia have tons of, like, Japanese games fans. They love, I think somebody in Saudi Arabia just got, like, credited for buying, like, a US complete NES box collection.
Jesus.
Yeah, just, like...
that's a lot of games.
yeah, but, like, they have so much money over there because of oil.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like, there's so much wealth over there. But I mean, this goes without saying. The Saudi Arabian Crown Prince is a controversial figure, to say the least. Some people are, like, way put off by this. He... I'm not going to get into it. It's in the news. The things that he's linked to. But, like, some people are, like, kind of, like, going, oh, well, I don't know whether I can support SNK anymore. I don't know where you stand with it, but it's kind of a weird thing. What do you think?
I mean, he has a lot of shares, but I don't know if this means he's going to influence the company or anything. And even though he's the highest shareholder, he's not the majority holder.
Sure. That's the point. So, I mean, he's definitely going to have some say over how the company.
Oh, yeah.
But 33% is not.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I mean, just to give an idea in these companies is, like, somebody with 51% is considered somebody who has total say over what goes on in a company. So 33 is not that far from 51. Let's just put it that way. He has a lot of sway, but he might just want to have it for the prestige, and he just has so
That's
much money.
kind of what I assume is going to happen. Like, is he going to influence writing video games? Like, I'm imagining he just wants to have a shit ton of stock.
Yeah. He just puts it on his shelf and goes, yeah, this is what I have, that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, like, it's SNK, man. It's cool.
I mean, if I was super rich, I'd be like, I want some SNK. But this guy, though, the deaths connected to him and things like that, I wish it were somebody less controversial. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, SNK is SNK. SNK's been around for a really long time, and I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm still going to support them, but I don't exactly like it. The best. But there are tons of people working for that company. You also got to think too. So, it's one of those things. Moving on. This is a big bummer and another kind of big blow to major digital platforms. Super Mario Maker, the original game on Wii U, will no longer support uploads on March 31st. 1st of next year.
Yeah, like you could still play all the stuff that's up there, but you can't put any new stuff up there.
I mean, this is understandable. Eventually you won't probably be able to download anything either, but uploading, you should be playing the new one. It has a lot more legs and a lot more options. The second game has all of the same abilities as the first one and more. So you really should be playing the new one if you're uploading. I would be much more upset if you couldn't download, made content, because there's just a wealth of really cool and original levels that were made by people back when the game came out. Of people that worked really hard on levels and things like that. Even some levels made by famous people are still up there, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna mention there's a Mario level called Castlevania made by Igarashi, and it's the platforming. Like it's Castlevania. Like it's Castlevania awesome. Level 1, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about Little Big Planet, but one of the things that they were really cool about was, and had a painstaking task of, was porting over, like, each new iteration carried over a lot of the old uploaded content every time, which is really an amazing thing, and not something I would ever recommend anybody take on as a project, because retrofitting your fan-made content into your new engine every single time sounds like some version of hell.
Yeah, that's gotta suck.
But it's gonna be a sad day when this stuff goes away, and I don't think there's a way to retain it. I don't think you can download them permanently. I don't think you can have them on your hard drive permanently. So that's going to be a sad day when this stuff goes away. Super Mario Maker was one of the coolest experiences on the Wii U, and it really got some attention at the time for a system that barely registered on anybody's radar, except in Smash circles and things like that. So, and amongst Nintendo fans. So it's a shame that an era of digital content is ending there. And the next thing is this is understandable, just like tons of other things being delayed in 2020 due to coronavirus issues. Cuphead, the Delicious Last Course DLC, has been delayed until sometime in 2021. Perfectly understandable, but man, Cuphead is a lot of fun, so I just had to mention that. Limited Run Games teased last week that they had an odd license that they were taking on, a retro license, and you probably wouldn't be able to guess what it was, and they revealed what it was, and I was actually pleasantly elated. I think this is really cool. Out there with a few other companies that have been doing re-releases of their old Nintendo games. Natsume they have the license for Natsume's Shadow of the Ninja, which is an amazing action game for the NES. So I thought that was really, really cool. Did you check this out, Lotus?
I mean, I saw what it was, but I don't care.
I know you don't, but
NES almost never interests me.
Yeah, this is one of the best games, though. It's really good, and it's a really fun action game. So this is definitely one of those titles that you would recommend to somebody to go back to. If you wanted a top 10%er NES game, this is a fun one. Definitely this one. So I'm excited for that. I have the original cartridge, which is probably skyrocketing in value at the moment, just because if it's any kind of retro game at the moment, it is ridiculously expensive unless it's a terrible game or they're a ton of fun. But it's pretty cool. Also, I shouted this one out to you on Twitter because it was really cool. But somebody named Artemis has released a game on itch.io called Artemis's Minesweeper, which I thought was really cool. You took a look at this, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a pretty cute concept. You have this, like, it's basically Minesweeper if it were a bullet hell. There's this, like, cute bullet hell girl, like a Toho kind of character, shooting bullets at you every once in a while. And normally what happens in Minesweeper is that if you click a mine, you just lose. But they fudged that for this one. Instead, you have a health bar. So as you uncover more of the screen, I mean, you can put flags anywhere you want, but the flags are really just a marker for you, the player. The goal is to uncover every part of the map that is not a bomb. If you do uncover a bomb in this version, you just get hurt. But the idea is that as you're moving your cursor around to play Minesweeper, bullets are shooting at you, so you have to move your cursor out of the way. It's one level, you know. It's just like regular Minesweeper. It's one level, but you could choose the difficulty of it. But it's pretty amusing.
Yeah, I just think it's pretty neat that you have, like you're combining what is traditionally considered like almost like a mind-numbing kind of thing. Like Minesweeper, there are people that are big fans of Minesweeper, and for good reason. It's a pretty fun game if you know how to play it. I particularly enjoy it, but it's just kind of funny to combine something that is considered mundane with a bullet hell, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This was interesting. So,
yeah, this was out of nowhere.
Those people not in the know, so the third evolution, the second evolution, the third form of Abra.
No, it's the second form.
It's the second form, so it's Kadabra.
Yeah, Abracadabra, Alakazam.
Alakazam's the third one. Okay, so Kadabra, oddly, has not been able to like show up in most Pokemon-related media for almost 20 years.
It's been a very long time.
I think it's 20 years.
Yeah.
Because they actually, in Japan, named him and kind of, like, his appearance is also kind of based off of a magician named Uri Geller.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for the idea of, like, bending a spoon with your mind.
Yeah. So he, I think that was his whole shtick. So, like, even the anime episode kind of revolves around bending spoons.
Yeah.
Too. So, like, they were literally referencing a specific person, and it's kind of funny for Nintendo to get DMCA'd.
Yeah, right.
Which is pretty funny. But
although, was this Nintendo itself, or was it the Pokemon Company?
I mean, the Pokemon Company is 33% owned by Nintendo,
okay.
So I mean, come on. I mean, you can split hairs, but yes. So Uri Geller sued them and gave them a cease and desist on like his appearance in like things like manga and things like that. I think he could still appear in games after that point. You know, obviously, you know, with bringing the character over, you know, from previous titles, you know, what you do with Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only capacity that he's been around in. The only other character that I know of that doesn't show up in Pokemon media, you know, anime, manga, whatever, is Porygon for obvious reasons. Because he created an issue with children having seizures in Japan at the time.
Yeah, it was a very strobe episode.
Yeah, and
some anime just did that back in the day. Like I watched Gal Gaigar with Mr. Ryu. And boy, was Season 2 different from Season 1. Because in Season 1, when you were ever in the villain's lair, it like literally hurt to watch. Season 2, they tone that shit down a lot.
Yeah, in Japan, children are particularly susceptible to photosensitive seizures. So, that kind of thing is not good for them. Now we have Kadabra back. He lifted the ban.
But it was so out of nowhere. Really, like I saw a Twitter post where it's like, "Yeah, I
regret it." Yeah, which is kind of what's kind of cool about it that he probably didn't even realize is that it's getting him publicity. Because you know, like why wouldn't you want that kind of thing named after you? That kind of thing.
Because
it's bringing attention to I didn't know about him before this, so
yeah, it's one of those
not?
things that would show up in little trivia. Did you know that this was actually based on a real person? But yeah, oh well.
It's more of an honor than anything. I mean, there are plenty of Pokemon that are named after specific people. There's Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, which are named after Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan.
Yep.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that they reference, that kind of thing. So, anyway,
there's Tentacool, which sounds like tentacle, which is obviously a reference to Mr. Tentacle. From the day of the tentacles, the green tentacle.
I'm done. You mean the purple one? The green one's the other. Is the docile one.
Yeah, I know there's green and purple, but I forgot which is which. I never played it.
Yeah, the purple tentacle is the antagonist.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is kind of going around. Somebody pointed this out at Tactful on Twitter. Crusader Kings has the weirdest patch notes of all time. I'm gonna read you some of these.
When they're very specific, if you throw the chicken, it no longer turns into a different object, or some weird shit like that.
It's so funny.
It's it's like Streets of Kamurocho with the patch update. When you pick up a sword, it no longer turns into a pylon. What the fuck?
This is unintentional comedy, and out of context, it's hilarious. I don't want to play this game. I have no interest in it, but this is so funny.
Yeah.
So, the first one. The Cucumber King is no longer unintentionally a kinslayer due to wrongly assigned father.
Yeah, I actually saw that one. I didn't keep reading the list, but that was the one that I saw.
Ugly characters now look more ugly to a reasonable extent.
That's pretty
by
good.
Distorting specific facial features more than before.
Ugly characters now look more ugly.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Intelligent women no longer confront their pregnant lesbian lover to ask if they are the father of that child.
Well, yeah, that would be just unintelligent, wouldn't it?
Stupid women, however, still have a chance to ask that question.
Oh, okay. Just writing in your notes, stupid women act in such a way.
Physicians can now treat themselves. And they're also more likely to mess up your treatment if they're trying to murder you.
Okay.
You can no longer mistake your infant child for a serial killer.
Oh, I could see that being a legit patch note, though. Human nearby, are you the killer? But, when you actually play it, it's, really stupid.
This is so funny. You cannot confide in friends you do not have.
Nice.
That's just real life.
Yeah, I thought that was a given, but alright.
You will no longer call people vile as a friendly greeting.
Oh, you know what? I did see that one other note. I lied. That's the second. I think that's it, though.
You will no longer think of your angry spouse as your vassal.
Jesus.
Your spy master will no longer fabricate a secret about themselves.
Okay.
So good. Those are the ones that I read.
That's pretty good.
Is just classic
I love
comedy.
Very specific weird things that outsiders would have less of a chance of understanding, and even insiders are like, that just sounds funny.
So funny. Moving on. So a lot of these companies have been putting out retro tabletop kind of systems ever since the mini consoles have come out, and SNK was really the first one to put out a mini arcade system that can function outside of a TV. But Capcom has announced one, and it's very odd.
Yes.
The games on it are very odd. I'm just gonna put this out there.
They're almost exclusively ones I don't care about.
They're almost exclusively ones nobody cares about.
Well, I don't know about the first couple. I just don't.
No. So the Capcom Retro Station has on it Capcom The Power Battles, which is the weird Mega Man CPS2 fighting game. Mega Man The Power Battles 2, its sequel.
I mean, I was confused. Oh, sorry, I was confusing it with Battle Network, which does have a following. But Power Battles. That's a novelty that came with the Mega Man X collection or something.
Fun because you're Mega Man had 2 arcade games, and
there's a fighting game. What? You can see cool graphics of I forgot which Robot Masters are in it, but Centaur Man or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it has like cool like updated graphic versions of some old um, bad guys in it. It also confirms like that they insinuate that Wily actually made Zero.
Yeah, I
In
think
that,
they've given some winks to that before. Even like I think even the animated series gave a
yeah.
nod to that.
Well, no, they in the animated series they talked about how he helped make Proto Man, but I don't know about Zero. Zero is
All
I
right,
don't think
it's
even
been a
in the
long time since I
animated
watched it.
series.
Yeah.
I don't think Zero's even in the animated series. To tell you the
No,
truth.
he's not. But I think there was something like on a computer screen of like this thing I'm working on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like they're not bad games, but they're not like they're nobody's favorites because they're not like a traditional Mega Man.
Well, yeah, well, it's like
Um,
Sonic the Fighters. It's like you want to say that you have it, but I don't know when you're gonna play it.
exactly. Mega Man and Bass, which is
That's kind of cool.
that is kind of cool, but like nobody's favorite Mega Man game, number one.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
true.
kind of a Mega Man 8 light, like because it has a couple characters in common with Mega Man 8.
Yeah, Bass was
Um,
even in Mega Man. Oh, no, Bass was in 7, wasn't he?
he was an 8.
Okay, he was. Okay.
Yeah, he's fighting him at the beginning of the game in the animated sequence, but you can't play as him.
Right.
But yeah, like he, this is also one of those games we never got it in its original form officially. We only ever got it in English on the GBA, which is a weird, like smushed resolution version of the game.
Yeah.
So like, I'm wondering which version of the game they're putting this on this because I doubt if they're going to do some hacking and reprogramming to put this on this. I don't know. So they'll probably put the GBA version on there for some. I don't know. It makes more sense for the Super Famicom version just because of the other games that I'm going to mention, but who knows? A Mega Man X, which does make sense.
It
Mega
does
Man
make
X,
sense, but it's been. Well, I guess it hasn't been on the retro station, but I mean, it's. You can get X if you want it.
X is one of the most gettable games in the Mega Man franchise. It's probably sold the best out of all the Mega Man games. Is probably Mega Man X, to some degree. And then Mega Man Soccer, which is an odd title.
Yeah, that's like, isn't that considered the worst Mega Man? Any kind of Mega Man game?
Yeah, it's not even a good soccer game. So like it plays like almost like a Kunio-kun soccer game, like World Nintendo
Cup
World Cup. Yeah, like Nintendo World Cup. Like you have special abilities and you have special kicks that depending on what character you are, if you're Iceman or whatever on the field, you'll have like an ice attack, shot, but it's not that great. It's not as good as one of those Kunio-kun games. So these 5 games. Just these 5 games, which is like, why not put like one of the 6 NES games, and like the entire Super NES trilogy, or Mega Man 7. None of that, just.
That's the thing. Like we've already
really
gotten
odd.
Mega Man X collections. We've gotten like all 8 games re-released.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have Mega Man and Bass and Mega Man Soccer, which are good oddities, I guess, but because like they don't get like many re-releases. And
I mean, I would say Power Battles are good oddities. Mega Man Bass is probably the best one, but Soccer,
Battles,
like nobody wanted Soccer.
Well, Power Battles at least had re-releases on the like the Mega Man Legends collections.
That's what it was. Yeah, the like Legacy collection or something.
No, the Legends collections back on PS2.
Oh, you're right. Legacy collection was the new stuff.
Yeah, but this is just odd and weird. It's just skip it, please. Moving on. I did want to mention. I usually mention when Arcade Archives games come out that interest me. And Gradius 2 is out, which is pretty cool. It's an a la carte version of Gradius 2, though it can be picked up in the Konami Arcade Collection.
Whoa, a la carte is in Gradius 2? It's incredible.
A la carte.
Actually, considering it's Konami, that's like not unreasonable.
Yeah, it isn't. All the games exist in the same universe. All of them.
Yeah.
It was confirmed in the Rebirth games, basically.
That's freaking weird.
like Pliskin is in like weird. But anyway, the big one is Zero Team, which is a game that only ever came out in Japan and was kind of an oddity. But this is like a '90s 4-player beat 'em up game by Seibu Kaihatsu. So like it's a really nice oddity. You don't get very many 4-player beat 'em ups, and especially ones that you don't know much about. But this is a beautiful looking game, and I really recommend people picking it up. It's from the same era as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. Like it's very colorful. It's a beautiful looking game. Has a beautiful pixel art. And it's a 4-player, beat 'em up, which there weren't too many outside of like Konami and Capcom at all.
Yeah, that's true. I was about to say X-Men, but that's still Konami.
There aren't many. And I'm pretty up on this genre, and I didn't hear about it before now.
Everything I'm thinking of is like almost everything is Konami, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, but that's Capcom. There's no way out.
Almost everything is Capcom or Konami, and almost all of those have been released to other systems, and this has never been released on home systems. So this is really special, and like you just don't know about it, and it probably won't be like really talked about. So this is definitely something to look out for. It's a 1993 coin-op 4-player beat 'em up. There weren't many of these, and it's a beautiful looking game. Like it's just really fun looking. So I picked it up. So go for it. And we've been also following the Atomiswave games being fan ported to the Dreamcast, not emulated but ported, which is really cool stuff. You talked about like a bunch of new titles with Facathon last week, but there's at least one big one here that they just added, which is really neat. Speaking of 4-player games, Guilty Gear Izuka, the only it's not the only 4-player Guilty Gear game, but
I think it's the intro of RoboKai.
It is. RoboKai is the main character of Guilty Gear Izuka.
That's so freaking weird. Have you heard RoboKai's theme, by the way?
Oh, it's like a derpy version of Kai's theme.
Yeah, and Kai's theme is, I don't know if it's necessarily one of the more iconic themes in the game, or if I just think it is.
Kai's like the main character other than maybe Soul.
Yeah, him and Soul. But like, RoboKai's theme is like just like off notes. Like it's like half a note off, and it sounds like what? Yeah.
But Atomiswave. There's one more Atomiswave game that did come out that I don't know anything about, called Sushi Bar. This is what I thought it was. So my guess was that it was going to be a sushi-themed puzzle game, and it was. So I was excited about that. But how do I know these things, Lotus? But I was trying to think of arcade-like games that would fit a sushi theme, and I'm like, I wonder if it's like Columns or something. And lo and behold, that's exactly what it is. It looks like it's a match 3 game. So there really aren't too many more Atomiswave games that haven't gotten the port here. I think we're like all the big ones that I've heard of are pretty well covered. I mean, we have Fist of the North Star now, the two Guilty Gear games, Knights of Valor, Maximum Speed, Metal Slug 6. We're still waiting on Animal Basket, whatever the hell that is.
All right.
Block Pong Pong, whatever that is. We have Demolish Fist though, right?
Boy, I hope so.
We don't have Dirty Pigskin Football. We do have Dolphin Blue. We don't have Extreme Hunting, I don't think. 1 and 2. We do have Faster Than Speed though. We don't have Miracle Stadium yet. We do have Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Victory Furlong? Net Select Salaryman Kentaru. Don't have those yet. Ranger Mission, don't have that. Samurai Shodown 6 we do have. Sega Bass Fishing, I still want to see that. Sega Clay Challenge. Yeah, those two haven't made it yet. But King of Fighters New Wave has made it, King of Fighters 11, and Rumblefish 1 and 2, but not YY Drive. So, yeah, Rumblefish has always been something I've wanted to play because it looked interesting. It's named after a Francis Ford Coppola movie back in the 80s. It's so weird. Why would you call it this? Rumblefish.
That's bizarre.
What a weird name.
I thought it was named after that Jackie Chan movie, Rumble in the Fish.
But it doesn't take place in the fish. It just
no, it's Toronto.
It's filmed in Toronto.
Rumble in the Toronto.
Which is so funny. Why would you name it that and not film it there? Moving on. A fan remade
this
the
is
Zelda
wild.
CDI games.
Well, two of them.
Well, the first two, the two that are
the one that are memed and people have heard of.
Yeah.
Not the what was it called? Zelda's Adventure.
Zelda's Adventure.
Live action.
Yeah. So that one's digitized. These two are like hand drawn.
Those are animated. Yeah.
Link. It's Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon and Link: The Faces of Evil. I think is how they're made. So this is the Dopster on Twitter. Unfortunately, he has taken them down for probably DMCA reasons.
Yeah, Phillips really wanted to retain that IP.
It's Nintendo.
Nintendo does not want to retain that IP.
But yeah.
Well, Zelda does,
Zelda
but those
game.
games, it's like it makes me think of when I don't remember who did it, but someone made like porn parodies of Mario Brothers, like Super Hornio Brothers 1 and 2, and Nintendo bought them. So technically Nintendo owns porn of its own characters because it didn't want them to make any more of them.
Yeah, they wanted to stop the distribution of it, so they bought it, which is actually
that's a very clever thing.
Yeah, very smart. They couldn't get them to stop making it because it's protected by the First Amendment, but because
so there was literally a retroactively official porn parody of Nintendo characters.
It's really funny, starring Ron Jeremy.
That's man. I wonder if any of the Japanese, well, not devs, but if any of like the executives were like, so what is this? Like, it's fucking stupid.
But yeah, apparently the Dopster or Dopester made this, and it was really good. Like, it's a really good version of this, and unfortunately I can't find it anywhere yet because an archive isn't up, and he only had it up for like a couple days.
Depending how big it is, I might be able to send it to you because I haven't tried it, but I got a copy.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was only up for 2 days or 1 day, I think.
Yeah, I saw somebody, I think it might have been HG101 actually, like retweeted it, and I'm like, whoa, and I got on
Gotta
that real
get
quick.
this. But apparently, like, this is the best version that you could ever hope for, and
well, I mean, it's this or the fucking CDI, which if you own one, no longer works.
No, but like he made it into like a good game apparently, like. Pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched the Game Grumps play through the game for real, but it looked like, I mean, you could joke about the game being a meme, but like, there's a lot of quality of life stuff that it could have used, you know?
Well, I think like the design of the game wasn't terrible apparently, but like,
and the soundtrack is actually across the board brilliant in both games. It's like weirdly very good.
The problems with it were like things like hit detection and
it's jank. Yeah,
and the physics and things like that,
and platforming. Yeah,
and also having to play it on the really terrible CDI controller.
Yes.
Apparently, CDI controllers inherently have something like 6 frames of lag. Like inherently, because they were supposed to be like almost like DVD remotes.
Well, yeah, it's Philips. Like, you don't need like frame perfect DVD menu selections.
But they forgot that. Oh, we're making a video game system at the same time too. So
yeah,
but like most of the games for the CDI are like, here, pick this thing from a menu.
That is true. Yeah, a lot of CDI games are like,
FMV games.
Well, no, I mean it's stuff you had on your actual PC back in the day. It's like Encarta, like
things like
I mean,
that.
I don't think it was literally Encarta for the
No,
CDI, but it was stuff like
the same
that.
kind of thing, like the world of like Renaissance art or something.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Open the menu, look at the pictures. Isn't it cool that you could do this digitally and not in a book? That's pretty cool, and that was the whole thing. It's called a game, but it's really not.
Even the SaGa CD had stuff like, hey, this is a Jimi Hendrix album with like cool visuals going on in the background. That kind of thing. So they had plenty of stuff like that on the CDI. So it was never really meant to be like a full-fledged video game system. Like, make fun of it all you want, but it was like a multimedia experience kind of system that had a couple of action games. And it just happens that they made 3 Zelda games and 1 Mario game on it.
And another Mario game that wasn't finished, but they were doing it. Like, I think Video Game Nerd showed, like, I don't know what it was. You can't call it alpha, like prototype footage or something. It was going to be like some kind of like around the world sort of experience.
Yeah. I did see that.
It almost makes me think of like the Mario is Missing stuff where you go around the world, but that was edutainment. This would have been an action game, but it still is like, what is this?
Yeah, probably the best game for the system, like a lot of people say, is actually Hotel Mario, which is a surprisingly competent game.
Yeah, Hotel Mario is very basic, but like it does what it's supposed to do.
It's
like
fun.
You see it, you know what you're supposed to do, and it works.
But it's nothing to buy a system over, for sure, unless you're just
especially considering how expensive those games are now.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the star of the show. Oh boy.
We don't have much time, but
we have to indulge a little bit. So,
we have to indulge a little bit.
For those of you who only know this from the movie, so Ready Player One was a Spielberg movie that was apparently pretty decent. It was not an amazing movie by anybody's standards, but they liked it. People who watched it like generally liked it for what it was. I'd never seen it. I don't really have much interest in it, and that's funny considering I love a lot of Spielberg stuff, a lot of his old stuff. But like, you know, it's one of those things. But like, people always kind of talked about Ready Player One's book and how like of the time it was, because it was very much made by an internet person. It was like an internet person who got like on the New York Times bestseller list. Kind of as a novelty for being an internet person that made it mainstream. So,
you know what it makes me think of is like almost like a high quality fan fiction where like low quality fan fiction would have been like, there's a TV show reference from when I grew up. There's a movie reference from when I grew up. But like, this is higher level because there's like an actual plot that happens to have these things in them, but they still feel heavy-handed. So
the big thing is when you're reading this, you're like, wow, there are just a ton of references to shit like 80s and 90s nostalgia here, and you'd be right, but that was like kind of the way the internet was at the time when it was written. This is like an early 2000s book, I think.
Well, yeah, do you remember that one pre-YouTube song, The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny?
Yeah, it's just like referencing
like,
stuff.
And then Jackie Chan fought Chuck Norris, and Godzilla was there too, and Mr. Rogers showed up.
That's
and
a good song.
These things that I know. It actually is a pretty good song, but like Ready Player One is like, what if I wrote that into like a full-on book? Yeah,
and so like references like as a form of humor, even Family Guy kind of made its bones on that. Like just having a reference at all was the joke, right?
And then it became the show.
Yeah, exactly. So
we're doing our plot. It reminds me of that one time thing you remember from the 80s.
So people kind of defended this book and saying it was very of the time. It just was, something that exemplified the way that the typical internet geek was at the time. Just loved things like Back to the Future and
well, it wasn't even so much loving things like that, because everybody loves what they grew up with, but the novelty was that we had the internet.
Yeah.
And you could talk to people across the world. Oh, like, it's not just me. There are, like, lots of people, and we all found each other because there are groups dedicated to this.
You can find forums, talking about, the most inane interest in having, like, tons of members who support a community of it.
Yeah,
so
it was
very
like I mean, I had that when I discovered that I wasn't literally the only one, and my brother, who, like, knew what King's Quest was, because that, like, I mean, that was
a big deal,
huge when it came out, but, like, when we grew up, it's like, maybe you'll find someone who's heard of it, but
about
it.
It wasn't in magazines any further than when it came out, so, like, there was no celebration of it, So, Ready Player 2, like, the actual sequel book, was just released, and howdy, it has not grown at all, and may have even regressed. It is even more doubled down on what the first one was, and some people are like...
Do you remember this reference? Because I do.
Can you read some of this? Because I just want, from the one that you mentioned on Twitter. I have it in the notes.
Yeah, some of, like, I mean, like, I understand that there's an actual... that I think might have... The thing that we linked, I think, might have been a parody. I'm not sure that was actually from the book.
It's not real?
Yeah, okay. When I was describing
See,
there's a parody link that was literally describing what the Shadow Realm is from Yu-Gi-Oh! And, like, okay, but, like, I don't think that was actually from the book. But there was a thing from the book where it's like, I approached the door that I was looking for. It was marked 42.
Yeah.
That was one of Halliday's little jokes. 42 is a reference to Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Thank you for explaining the reference to me. Like,
yeah, but it's like an entire page of stuff like this. Constantly.
Yeah, and, like, what kills me is that if you understand the references, then it's like, shut the fuck up, I know.
Need it.
And if you don't know the references, then you're like, thank you for that, I guess. Like, there's a part where it's like, I entered the passcode, whatever that famous song was, 8645739 or
8675309.
5309. But, like, it's like 8675309, and then, like, like, that was a song, and then it says in italics, like, the first, like, few words of it, like, I haven't actually heard the fucking song, so, like, I still know what it is, though I don't know the lyrics, but it's like the first few words, like, in case, like, yep, that's what this is. It's just obnoxious to me. I'm going to type it in right now, because ironically, I'm the person who doesn't know the lyrics. Yeah, Jenny, who can I turn to, ... It's like, thank you. Yes, that's the song. Like, again, this is coming from someone who has not listened to it, but, like, you can't avoid it. It's like Star Trek. I've never watched a single episode of Star Trek, but I know what the Borg are, It's stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like very shallow references. Like, they're very broad references to things that, like...
Yeah, and to be fair to him, if he made, like, very esoteric references, then the book would be, like, unapproachable. But if you go the other way and make a million shallow references, then it's like, yes, I also am 30. Thank you.
It's also like explaining a joke. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. With the 8675309, like, he gives you the first couple lyrics. It's a song. Like, all right. It was a really popular song at the time. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I read it to my wife, which is a funny thing to say. I read it to my wife, and she's just like, is it making fun of itself? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's the funny thing is, like, I have, like, this is the same level of All-Star Batman and Robin to me. Like, I don't know whether the person is self-parroting or not. Like, it's on the line of, this is so goofy that you hope they're self-aware, because otherwise it's sad.
Oh, by the way, the reason I was confusing the phone number, if you could believe this, is that while I haven't heard that full song, what I have heard was the Blues Brothers 2000 song 6345789. 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. So I always conflate that with the other thing,
sense.
which is far more famous.
But also Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah, that movie's not very good, but that song is a catchy
good.
song. The first one's great.
The first one's fucking great.
I still kind of like the second one, even though it's stupid. But like that song's catchy, though. I'm sorry, it's a phone number song. That's the phone number song I know, not the actual famous one.
Remember when they replaced John Belushi with a little kid?
Well, to be fair, they also brought on John Goodman, which is awesome.
Well, that was cool, but also a little kid that lived in his trunk.
It's relatable to me because I'm a little kid as I watch this movie.
It's so weird.
The first movie dealt with Nazis. The second movie, I feel like I could better relate to it because I'm a little kid. I hate Illinois Nazis.
But it was okay to hate Nazis. Everybody.
Yeah, there was a time actually. No, but I should mention, by the way, regarding is this self-parody? I don't know. I'm thinking no because like I forgot where it came up. I saw it on Twitter, but like the guy like owns 2 DeLoreans. Like
who owns 2 DeLoreans?
Well, you know what's funny to me is that the DeLorean came in vogue from like Back to the Future, but like because it's in vogue, the joke is lost. Like the joke of the movie was that his time machine was like really a fucking DeLorean. Like,
it was a piece of shit.
That's why it was funny. Like you're using this and like now people unironically think the DeLorean looks cool, and it honestly kind of does look cool, but like the joke is that it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like even in the movie, he has trouble starting up the car multiple times. Like the car,
and Marty straight up asks, like, a DeLorean?
The car looked cool, but was shoddily made.
Like the only reason that anyone knows what it is because it was the time machine in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
But like that movie didn't have to get popular. If it didn't, nobody would give a shit about the DeLorean.
Yeah, and there was only 1 year produced of the car.
It's the same thing with how cool the Millennium Falcon is. When it's like constantly
the Millennium
brought up
Falcon is a piece of shit.
They constantly address in like multiple movies that thing's held together with like duct tape.
I mean, it can go way faster than you think it can. But
even then, that's because he like modified it. Like he installed a hyperdrive in a freighter ship. Like that's why it fools Imperials. Nobody expects like a cruise liner to be able to go fast.
Yeah. So
that's because he illegally modded a piece of shit ship, which is still a piece of shit ship.
Yeah, I mean, like Luke even says, "Wow, this is a piece of junk."
Would you look at this piece of junk or like something like that?
Yeah.
What a piece of junk. I forgot what it was. But like it's just like, you know, the ship in Alien, which is also a rundown piece of shit trucker ship, but it looks cool because you saw it in a sci-fi movie.
It's a semi. It's like
it really is. It's a trucker ship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the space equivalent of a semi. And that's why it takes so long to pass by, because it's hauling shit, you know.
Yeah,
it's hauling cargo back to
like it really is funny though. If you look at Star Wars, just about every ship is sleek in its own way, like except for the Falcon.
Well, I mean, it's also post-Republic, so everything's getting run down like Soviet era stuff at the time.
That's true.
I mean that's one of the things about the prequels that was pretty neat that they emphasized is like stuff looked new and shiny during
it was very shiny
during a time in which, you know, times were better, economic times were better, and even like the rebels have ships that are barely holding on, that have been repaired millions of times, you know, by the time that the middle series comes around, you know, the New Hope series. So I think it's cool that they emphasized, hey, the stuff was once new, and then eventually it fell into disuse. The only thing that looks good and utilitarian are
Empire stuff.
Empire stuff,
yeah.
So anyway, got to move on because we got a couple other little things.
Little quick things. Yeah.
Bob Ross is apparently going to be in Magic the Gathering.
They're releasing premium lands. I mean, by the time you hear us on the podcast, it's already too late because it's being released on Monday, so yesterday. But yeah, there's a set of 10 lands, 2 of each type, that have actual Bob Ross art as a promotional piece.
Happy little trees on them.
Happy little trees. You could get them in standard or foil, and they're probably gonna be like sold out within a couple minutes of their launch.
Gimmick lands, man.
Yeah. Lands have the most potential for art because there's no need for flavor text or function. You know what a forest does. You tap it and you get a green man. Here's the art. That's why people actually like the lands from the joke sets. Weirdly, they're like full card art.
They're
like
nice,
the best looking lands are from the joke sets.
I actually really like the joke sets. I think they're awesome. But here's another thing that will probably make you cringe. Bad Robot joins the production company, J.J. Abrams' production company, I should say. Joins Amazon's Lord of the Rings television series.
Wait, J.J. Abrams is producing it?
Yeah.
Well, even forgetting Bad Robot, now I'm already nervous because we've seen from J.J. Abrams' Star Trek and Star Wars that like he makes what I think Star Trek is. Like I've seen Star Trek 2009 and I've seen Wrath of Khan. I have never seen an episode of Star Trek in my life, but I know. Well, it's not actually a line in the show, I understand. But I know that Scotty's the guy who beams you up.
Yep.
I know that they have phasers. I know that Picard says, make it so. Like, J.J. Abrams is like, if I made a Star Trek movie, this is what's in Star Trek, right? And we've seen J.J. Abrams make The Force Awakens, which everybody loved because it was like, this is what Star Wars should be. This is what you remember from Star Wars. But then when he went and did a truly original thing, Rise of Skywalker, it fucking sucked. So I'm nervous about Lord of the Rings because, with Lord of the Rings, I'm afraid that it'll be something where, if you saw the Lord of the Rings trilogy back when it was in theaters and never again, and you're like, well, I remember they had to take the ring back. I remember Frodo.
I mean, those
cried
movies
a lot.
Were huge. Everybody has those in their in their minds.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that the Lord of the Rings series made by Abrams is going to be like that. Like, well, Frodo and Sam were really close. I remember that. I remember. I don't
think it's going to be based off of. Yeah, I don't think it's a retelling of the movies. I think it or the books. I think it's just taking place in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, it'll just be like completely original content.
Yeah, I think it's a Middle Earth.
All right, that's kind of interesting because there's more than enough lore to adapt.
I think they have the Silmarillion and all that stuff.
There's a shit ton of lore to adapt. Yeah,
but my problem with it is that it's him. They should have just gotten Peter Jackson and his buddies.
I think Peter Jackson's fucking done. He didn't even really want to do The Hobbit.
Yeah, but he should have just at least gotten one of his buddies to oversee it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, get like a Lord of the the reason Lord of the Rings movies were so damn good is because Peter Jackson was super passionate about making it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is that by the time he was asked to make the Hobbit trilogy, he didn't want to do what they made him do.
Yeah, he was burned out. Yeah.
He had to make another trilogy out of a single book, which a short book at that.
Yeah.
A simplistic book. So it could have been a cool 1 or 2 movie thing.
I think it was supposed to be 2 movies, and then it became a 3rd movie.
Yeah, and that it lost audiences too. So I don't have any interest in watching them. Even though
I've still never seen them. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't give a shit, and I know they're produced well. I know the cinematography and stuff is good.
Yeah, but I mean, even before hearing the reviews, I was like, The Hobbit's being 3 movies? No, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. The Hobbit's the only one of the books I've actually read, and I didn't want to see it adapted that way. And
I need to reread that. I mentioned this before, but I recently finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and damn, that's good.
Oh yeah, there's a reason why people like it, right? There has to be. I want to go back and read them. I want to read all 4 books, but what I'm saying here is I don't have much faith in this. Now that Bad Robot is involved, I used to think that the first reboot Star Trek movies actually pretty good.
Well, it was fun to watch, but
it's not very Star Warsy though. That's the thing.
Star Trekky
or Star Trek.
But yeah, well that's the thing. It was like I said earlier. Captain Kirk was the guy who has sex with the green women, right? Even though that that might have happened once or something.
What happened?
But that's what people remember, in the culture. Spock was the guy who says that's illogical, right? That was the thing.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of callbacks. Really.
Chekhov was the guy with the Russian accent. Okay, got it.
It's just kind of
Yeah.
like the Star Trek movies. It's just a bunch of callbacks and like
Yeah, like I said, like what I know of Star Trek, I know the most basic shit. Like what someone like me can relate to in Star Trek, the movie will be comfortable for me. It's not going to be like, oh, you need to have watched at least the entire original series to get this. And honestly, movies should not require you to do all that.
no,
But
it should
like,
tell a good self-contained story to begin with.
well, yeah, but it like you said, it should feel like Star Trek, which is exploring and deliberating and not bang bang pew pew. It was a Star Wars movie disguised as Star Trek,
Yeah,
disguised as Star Trek.
and the funny thing is, Jon Favreau is doing this concept well with Mandalorian. Mandalorian is
Yes.
fantastic. I've been keeping up on the second season, and it's still fucking great. And it's probably the best Star Wars thing made since Return of the Jedi. It's so good, and people are recognizing its quality, so that's great. So like we'll get more of it. But Jon Favreau knows what the fuck he's doing, and like he basically you can thank him for the Marvel Cinematic Universe also.
Yeah.
Him and the brothers, right?
Yeah, the Russo.
The Russo brothers, but Jon Favreau most of all because he set the tone. He made Iron Man, and without the original Iron Man, that series would be nothing. And the original Iron Man was a fantastic beginning of that series.
Yeah.
It's one of the best movies still. And he's a fantastic director. He just is, and he's really good at it. Now, Mandalorian's second season is starting to have more callbacks to obscure Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that if it's not required for you to know.
No,
in order
and
to
it's
get
not.
it.
My wife is watching it with me. She doesn't know who Admiral Thrawn is, who just got brought back into canon.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty
a big
wild.
deal. But
I haven't heard about Admiral Thrawn since like TIE Fighter.
so Admiral Thrawn, for people that don't know, is probably the most famous like extended universe villain of Star Wars. He's the big bad guy after Palpatine and Star Wars and Darth Vader die. So he's who the heroes fight in the Timothy Zahn trilogy, which is considered widely by people to be like the real sequel trilogy is those books.
Yeah.
So people love those books, and he was taken out of canon because all of the books, all of the extended universe books,
all of it
were stricken from canon. So he was mentioned in the most recent episode of Mandalorian. So he is brought back into canon.
Yeah, that's like legitimately shocking. Like that's a huge thing.
Also, Ahsoka, from who is a main character of Clone Wars.
Yeah, she's a popular character.
It was finally brought into live action.
And what I couldn't believe was that she's like
Dawson.
Yeah, and what I could hardly believe, because I've seen screenshots, she is like
awesome.
She is a dead ringer for like her CG counterpart. Like it looks like
an older version of her. Yeah.
Yeah, like she
more
looks
mature
like
version.
what I saw in the cartoon. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. So so the most recent episode was also they revealed the name of the child too, which is
which zero people approve of.
Oh yeah, but still and they also gendered the child, which was not a thing either. We finally found out the child is a boy, and the name is I still can't remember it.
Grugar.
Yeah, Grugar. So yeah, I don't think that's spoilers because like, what does that tell you? Nothing. But what I'm trying to say is that Jon Favreau is doing the like reference thing, but not in a cringy way, and not like you see.
Well, that's the thing, like because Rogue One did the referencing thing in a cringy way.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ, they would not stop.
Same thing with Solo. Solo's like, what's your name? Oh, Han Solo, because I'm here by myself. Like, shut up. No, that's
slight credit. I have like, I don't have it anymore, but like I had like a children's book that was like a Wookiee story.
Yeah.
So like, if you could believe it, like Lobaka and like Nala and everything, like they were in that book like outside of the holiday special. But it mentions like, oh no, that wasn't the thing that mentioned it. No, it was in the, well, I mean I did have that, but that mentioned how Han met Chewie. Never mind. But there I had the Star Wars storybook where, like, I mean, I think people took liberties with it, but Luke was musing to himself, like, solo means alone. Maybe that's just, like, his thing or whatever. So, like,
Yeah,
I mean, but that's kind of unfair,
It's
though, because
just
everybody in
his
Star
name.
Wars is named what they are. Skywalker, I guess he explores.
It's just his name. Come on, you don't have to explain it. And also, like, you don't have to explain how somebody truncates a name. You don't have to go, oh, I will call you Chewie. He could just say, hey, Chewie, get over here. You know, like...
Yeah, well, that's what I like about John Wick. I think I've mentioned this before. In John Wick 2, when he goes to Italy and there's a Continental there, at no point did they say, you're going to need to go to our international branch because we have one of those.
Understand.
Like, he
they
just
show
fucking
it.
shows up,
Yeah.
and they know who he is.
Yeah. Anyway, you wanted to bring this one up, real quick.
Yeah, this was kind of cute. I mean, this isn't news, but the game's pretty new. But in Yakuza Like a Dragon, the newest Yakuza game, there's one particular mission where you run into a guy who speaks English, and you're like, oh god, I don't understand what this guy's saying. Even like, and the guy who speaks English is like dubbed by someone who sounds like a native English speaker, and he's just like, can you tell me how to get to the station? And your character's like, oh fuck, I do not understand this guy. What do I do? But the thing with Yakuza Like a Dragon is that it has an English dub, so everybody speaks English if you set it to that. And if you play the game in English, then when Ichiban says like, "Oh God, he's speaking English," there's a little, like, there's like a second where he like looks directly at the camera. He gives you like a knowing look, but like that was actually added to the Western release of the game. It's
Cool.
like not in the Japanese release. It was added to be like, yeah, we know everybody's speaking English. It's just a funny little thing. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
just like that they programmed the Western version slightly differently just for that. Like, this isn't like, yeah, they all speak English. That's kind of funny. Like, they actually programmed in a tiny in-joke. That's great.
Nice. And speaking of Star Wars, but on a less fun note here, unfortunately, we saw the passing of David Prowse over the weekend. He was the physical actor for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So
Everybody knows James Earl Jones as the voice, but, like, David Prowse is not as well known, and I don't know why. It's not like you ever see either of their faces.
yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot more people know Chewbacca's actor, Peter Mayhew.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I think the first time I ever saw David Prowse was in A Clockwork Orange, because you remember the very beginning of the movie where the main character, whose name is I'm flaking on, but Malcolm McDowell, where he, like, you know, beats up that one old guy and, like, causes all sorts of chaos, but then toward the end of the Alex, thank you. Toward the end of the movie, he shows up coincidentally at that same house after he got his ass kicked by his own former crew.
Yeah.
And the old guy's helping him out. He's like, but then he realizes that this is the same kid who tormented him years ago. That scene. Well, you'll notice something slightly different about the old guy now, is he now has a giant fuck-off bodyguard who just, like, he never fights or anything. He's just with him, and you're like, this guy's fucking
imposing,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was David Prowse.
Yeah. He was imposing for back then. Like, he was a bodybuilder.
He look at his arms, like, they're gigantic. Like, he is huge.
Like, he's just seen lifting weights, and you're like, oh god, don't fuck
yeah,
with that guy.
yeah. The part where he offers Alex the drugged wine, but he doesn't know it's drugged. Like, and he offers, would you like some, David Prowse? No, thank you. And you're just like, oh god, like, where are we going with this?
It's certainly a shame. He did have a good long life, though. He was in his 80s.
Yeah, 85, I believe.
Yeah, 85, which is a good long life, and he happened to be a big part of a gigantic series that was very important to cinematic history. So, hats off to him. Good stuff from him. And he had a very awesome presence on screen. He did a great job. Despite the fact that he wasn't going to be the one speaking.
Well, actually, speaking of which, have you ever seen like the I don't know what you call it, the undub, like when you hear David Prowse giving his lines because James Earl Jones has to talk over them?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty funny. 'Cause, like I think he's Scottish, and so it's great to just see the first scene in A New Hope where Darth Vader is like, "Search the ship and like find the princess. I want her alive." And you're like, "Whoa, this is bizarre."
It's so funny to have to think that James Earl Jones was just like watching the movie and having to like say his lines like in time with his body movements. You know, it's
Yeah, I
just
mean, it's like dubbing over for an anime or
sure
something.
same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Well, I think that does it. I mean, we had a long episode here, but there
Yeah.
was a lot to talk about and some big topics. So no regrets, really. Do you have any other last minute items there, Lotus?
Nah, I think that's good for me.
Okay, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the anatomy of pop culture. For this episode, we will be talking about our childhood games and systems that had a big impression on us, and our firsts. Finally, you can friend me. This is actually what I'm supposed to be reading this time. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much everything.
Yeah, and finally, you can friend me as vysethebold. Fuck.
Line.
Yeah. So you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Excellent. And worth every penny, I should add. I am a Patreon myself, and I very much enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
Nobody very few people create as much content as you do, and keep up with it. It's awesome. All right. Well, we will see everybody on Thursday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.